Waikiki at Duke's in the Outrigger Hotel and their rooftop garden.
Yeah. I'm here with Carrie Takaoka, manager of Duke's Waikiki, and they are creating a rooftop garden which follows the farm-to-table movement. And so, Carrie, what would you like to share with us about what you're doing?
I just think that it's been a really fun venture for us, just because it's something that I don't think that people necessarily associate with us initially.
Right, you're a bar.
Yeah, you know.
For people listening, Duke's Waikiki is a must-come bar, restaurant right on the beach, very popular, always packed. So you might not associate a rooftop garden, farm-to-table system happening with such a happening place.
Right, but we've just we've played with it and we've tinkered with it over the last couple of years, and I think we're finally coming into a place where we know where we can effectively use it without obviously getting too far behind in our volume and getting to,
because you don't want to create food waste.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right.
So what are we looking at here?
So right now it's just it's always going to pretty much be primarily strictly for our bar use. So it's all herbs and just all herbs that we're going to we use in our cocktails actually currently.
Oh, so if I have a mojito, I have fresh, organically grown, locally sourced mint.
Right. It is mixed in because obviously volume-wise at this point we can't really sustain the restaurant solely off of our garden. But what we do like to do is still contribute part of the things that we grow here. And eventually down the road we'd like to be sustainable for the most part off of this garden. But it's kind of like you said, it's a little bit tricky. Just this environment has been a nice learning, but it's great.
And you're starting. So I see lavender and I see basil. I see mint.
Mint, some thyme. We do have some tarragon. There's some stuff too the kitchen's asking us to experiment with, just
nice.
To see if we can do that for them. As far as cost is pretty pricey on some herbs, and so things that they don't use extremely readily, that they ask that we can try to experiment. So it's also a bit of an experimentation going on still up here.
So with urban gardening, there's a triple bottom line. There's an economic, and there's also a health benefit for the community, because rooftop gardens can help clean our air. They can also reduce the stormwater runoff when there are storms. And then, of course, you have the nutritional value and just it must create a form of camaraderie within your team.
Absolutely.
For those of you working here in the garden.
Right. I mean, that's actually the one thing I did say. We just had a meeting recently where we started doing a little more recruiting, and I said it's really the only department in our restaurant that kind of crosses over through the different areas. So not just the kitchen, but the front of the house, different departments there. So it's kind of nice because it's a team building thing. And it's amazing how many of our employees are very interested in learning about doing this.
It's surprising how excited people get about gardening, and gardening brings people together. I wanted to share with you something that happened a few years ago in France. Rooftop gardens are so helpful to urban living, reducing air quality. Like if your air quality has issues and you'd like to have better air quality, but also rooftop gardens help protect the roofs. And they created a policy that any new building built in France had to either be covered with solar or a rooftop garden.
That's amazing.
So I want to commend you for being on the forefront of what's happening here in Honolulu, and thank you for your time for sharing this with me today.
Definitely.
So if you're ever in Waikiki, I highly recommend the Outrigger Waikiki. It's a wonderful place. You get to experience the feeling, and you're surrounded by a lot of Hawaiian culture and tradition, and if you ask questions about the art, you can learn so much. And make sure that you go to Duke's and enjoy a very fresh cocktail or an hors d'oeuvre or a meal, and know that some of it is sourced from their garden. Thanks for tuning in. Stay tuned.